Howdy, Space Rangers, Captain Phoenix here, and today we are talking about an interesting show, to say the least. It's very interesting, very niche, and very underground. Even though I thought it would have become big, or at least gotten like a cult following of sorts, but I guess that's not the case. And here we are. I'm calling all of you racist. I'm kidding. Even I was kind of dreading watching this show for a bit. Not true. Anyway, today we are talking about Iyanu. For those who don't know what Iyanu is, neither did I for a while, because it was just a random show that came out of nowhere. And apparently, this is a Cartoon Network show, or animated by Cartoon Network. It was I think it's one of Cartoon Network's last shows before the company officially shut down. I don't know if the company's still alive anyway. But yeah, Iyanu is a Cartoon Network show that came out very recently. I think it just wrapped up last month. It took me a while to finish the show, but I thought I would see it anyway. So you're probably wondering to yourselves, what is Iyanu? And in case you can't, and of course, in case you couldn't tell, this review is going to be completely unscripted. This is me just going rambling, talking about my thoughts left, right, and center. I don't want to talk for too long because I know I can ramble and go completely off topic. So I'm going to try and focus on the main points I have in my mind, and then we'll just get to the end of the video when we get there. So let's start off with the concept of Iyanu, as I mentioned before. Iyanu is an Afro fantasy show set in ancient West Africa, specifically Nigeria, and it's basically following the story of this young girl called Iyanu, who was basically created by the gods to be this human warrior for the spirits, basically cleansing the earth of all the bad stuff that the bad spirits cause to it and bringing balance to nature. In case this sounds familiar, as I said before, it very much does. So let's talk about the ripoffs first, because I couldn't get over how much this show was ripping off, or at the very least was inspired by other stuff. I don't even want to say ripping off, that sounds mean, but it's very clearly and blatantly inspired by other properties out there, which I honestly respect. It very much wears its inspirations and its heart on its sleeve. So I guess you could say that. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to do the review like this. I didn't want to script this review, basically because I wanted it to be as genuine as possible. Because believe it or not, Iyanu is one of the more genuine shows I've seen. There's really not much else to it. It's very simple and very straightforward in what it wants to do and what it wants to tell you. And another reason why I wanted to make a very straightforward review is because I wanted to give my raw thoughts on the show, mainly because you guys know me. I love mythology, I love fantasy. That's my bread and butter day and night. And the fact that we finally have a show based on African mythology made by, a big company, because Cartoon Network is a big name, really just fills me with a lot of joy. And it's one of the main reasons why I wanted to watch the show, even though it may have not looked as interesting from the start. I wanted to watch the show not just because it's an original, but you should go watch it because the people who complain, we get too many sequels and reboots and whatever these days, this is an original show for you to go check out and form your own opinion on. But not only is it original, it's based in my niche, right? I'm African and I want to see African media succeed. So the fact that we're actually getting Afro fantasy, a big major Afro fantasy show succeed, I wanted to watch it and put the word out. So even if it's not good, which trust me, there is a lot of stuff that's not good in this show, I do want to get the word out. I do want more media like this to succeed. I see the potential in this show even specifically. Even though I don't think it's good, I do want more of this stuff in the future. And because this review is going to be very all over the place, I even forgot to mention that that these clips aren't for me. Iyanu, as I mentioned, is a very underrated or very niche show. Not a lot of people have heard of it. So of course, even the clips I tried finding for it are basically centered to one channel. So the footage I'm getting for this review comes from the channel Cartoon Universe, if I'm not wrong. I will link him down in the description below because I'm basically using different clips from his videos. Cartoon Universe, if you somehow come across this video, please don't copyright me. I'm doing my part to get the word out. Okay, we're in the same side here. But yeah, so I figured I would just use the clips there and again talk over the clips just to give my thoughts on it. But link to his channel will be in the description below. Okay, let's get back to the proper review where I talk about the ripoffs of this show, because this show is very much inspired by a lot of things, as I mentioned, very much wears its interest on its sleeve, and it's very telling. Obviously, the main inspiration behind this show, I know this also, which by the way, before I talk about the inspirations, I do know that this show is based off the comics. They make that blatantly clear in the credits at the beginning of every episode, so I know that this show is based off a comic series. But forgive me for also thinking that comic series might also be based off the inspirations I'm about to talk about, because I mean, yeah, how could they not? Anyway, let's talk about the inspiration. So it's very clear that this show, as I said, wears its inspirations on its sleeve, and it's very clear who it's borrowing from. It very much borrows at first from Avatar. It is so blatantly obvious this show is trying so hard to be the next Avatar. You got the main character who's like this Avatar spirit vessel between the human and spirit world, and they must bring balance to the world. And we even have the glowing eyes thing, and the glowing eyes are of course blue because blue is the good guys. And they have power over the natural, supernatural, and unnatural world. It's like it's very clearly inspired by Avatar, which I don't think it's a bad thing. I do think a lot of media, especially in this day and age, targeted towards kids, is going to be inspired by Avatar to a certain point. I even think Ninjago is inspired by Avatar. So I don't think it's wrong to be inspired by Avatar, but this show really feels like it's going the extra mile in trying to be its own Avatar, if that makes sense. We even get the cast, the band of misfit kids all meeting up and going on adventures together. It's just, instead of Katara and Sokka, it feels like we just have two Sokkas in the group. Well, yeah, two Sokkas in the group, really. But I do love that vibe that they're going for. I said I love Avatar as well, so you'll never see me getting mad at inspirations, but I feel like this one is so blatant, it kind of goes on. It kind of treads the line of ripping it off, if you get what I'm saying. Another thing this show reminds me of is also Attack on Titan, mostly with the whole people being the last of humanity or whatever, being trapped behind walls. They have to stay away from the outside world because the outside world is very dangerous, but also the outside world has a lot of secrets to it, and we have to uncover those secrets by finally leaving the walls. There's not too many comparisons I can make to Attack on Titan outside the whole wall business and, the corrupted monsters and beings, but I figured that was interesting enough to point out. There are also other shows that it's inspired of, obviously, but Avatar and Attack on Titan are the main ones that came to mind when watching this show. This show, at least the first season, is also, how could I forget How to Train Your Dragon as well? She makes a bond with a freaking animal, and this animal, she does the whole hand touch thing, and it becomes her lifelong partner. Only difference is that Toothless is talking, which is something he doesn't do in a TV show. But just backtracking a bit. So it's very clear what this show is inspired by. And it kind of takes all these inspirations, kind of mixes them in a pot, and then tries to make its own mythology set in Africa, which I think is an interesting way to go, especially since this is African mythology being marketed and catered toward a Western audience. And so you want to give them a bit of that familiar in order to ease them into that mythology, which I think is really done well. Now, let's actually talk about the mythology part of this show. This show, of course, introduces a lot of concepts that are tied to mythology. We, of course, have the good gods, the bad gods. The bad gods corrupted animals to attack people all the time. And then, we live in an age where, the magic of the old gods is gone, of the good gods is gone. And then, of course, we get the avatar, the unnatural, supernatural, and natural world. And basically how Iyanu ties into all of that. I feel like this show at least has educated me on some aspects of Nigerian or West African mythology. I don't think it educated me on everything though, because every mythology show will have inaccuracies to some, or even movie will have inaccuracies to some extent. But I do feel like, okay, I've got an understanding of this world, and it feels like stuff, yes, I've heard before, but it also kind of has its own little identity. Like we have this purple stone thing that blows things up. I don't know if that's in the mythology or not, but I like it. And I like how we also get to see different locations, for lack of a better word. But also like how we get to see the different tribes and how they live and how they are customizing to this different world. It does feel weird that we have humanity living outside the walls, unlike Attack on Titan where humanity was all constrained to the walls until later on in the series, of course. But here it's like, okay, only one civilization built walls. Everyone else is like, yeah, we're kind of doing our own thing. We get this leopard here who I'm assuming is an actual important character in mythology because the way they say his name is like, oh, we need to be revered of this guy. And of course, we actually get to see some of the deities themselves, who, as I said, kind of feel like Avatar characters, but at the same time, I kind of get the feeling that, yeah, these are a Nigerian mythology. But on top of that, we also get mythical creatures, or at the very least, a mythical creature outside the gods, and that is the lightning bird. I am actually so happy that they brought the lightning bird in. This is just a personal thing. Like the show gets a free point because it's a personal point from me, and that's because I remember I wrote a story or an essay about the lightning bird back in college, and it's like, oh, they actually brought it here. I thought that was purely South African mythology, but I guess it's in Nigerian mythology, or they borrowed something from South African mythology, which I think is really nice because it ties everything together. Either way, I really love the inclusion. I thought it was really neat, even though it shows up for a brief second, and I don't think it's the right color. I think it was silver in the show when it's brown in real life, but I mean, it showed up. I'm happy with that alone. Yep. Even Cartoon Universe called the similarities to Attack on Titan. I mean, it doesn't get much better than this. But let's talk about now the other stuff of this show. Stuff I don't really like, because as I said, I do like the mythology of this show. I do like the mythology of this show. I do like the ideas it brings up, the concepts it wants to tackle. But I do see the potential. There is a lot of good potential in this show for it to run for like many seasons or inspire other shows of this caliber. My only issue with this, though, And I can't believe I'm saying this, but the rest of the show kind of sucks. The rest of the show freaking sucks, dog. The show isn't good. I can't, in good conscience, say this is a good show. And I'm gonna try my best to break down what my issues are with the rest of it. So let's start off with the dialogue, because I think that's just the most pressing part to me, aside from the animation. But we'll talk about the animation in a minute. But the dialogue is so bad. Not only is exposition just haphazardly done, it just feels, the dialogue feels like, baby's first script, the graduate's first script, right, fresh out of college. But the dialogue is like really bad between the characters. I get it's trying to be both hip and traditional in like how Avatar was doing it. But like the thing is, Avatar was being hip in its own right. It wasn't trying to follow any trend or how should I say? It wasn't trying to follow any trend or lingo of its time. It was inventing its own lingo for the show. And this show, it doesn't do that. Like they have this one kid who keeps going, Wanda, Vonda. I'm like, I know that's a West African phrase right there. And I don't think it fits, right? The dialect, it doesn't work. The way these characters talk, it doesn't work for their world. And I said, so like we have the exposition, which is really bad. The dialect is not really good. And I said, the general way we pass information between each other, not just exposition, but the way the characters interact, it just doesn't fit. There will be scenes where characters are talking, especially between Iyanu and I think, is it B? Yeah, B, right? Where they'll like even be talking about Iyanu's struggle, her anger over stuff in the current moment. And they will jump between 5 different topics in one conversation. And none of these topics have anything to do with each other. And then we'll circle back to what caused the initial conflict in the conversation. I don't like that. The dialogue is very, very messy in this show. You have to be very tolerable to it in order to like just swallow it and move along with it. And then let's talk about my second biggest issue with the show, and that is the animation. This animation, despite being made by Cartoon Network, is so freaking stiff for no reason. Outside of episode 9, which has really good animation for what it's worth, this is a very short show. It is only 10 episodes long. I know we're gonna get more seasons in the future, but you'd think for a 10 episode show, they'd put a bit more effort into it. Freaking Infinity Train's first season was 10 episodes long, and that looked like it had more animation. I haven't watched it, I just seen like the promo clips and whatnot. And so you'd think for something like Iyanu, which is supposed to be, Cartoon Network's, I guess, swan song, they would have added a bit more, but no, everything is so stiff. The way the characters walk is stiff. The action is stiff. The facial expressions are pretty good for the most part. I actually don't have issues with those. You could tell the animators have a bit of fun with those, but they would, I swear to God, they would straight up reuse animation in some scenes. There's one plot line with the bloody snakes trying to enter the city. They reuse the same footage of the snakes on the wall because they know we can't have the snakes enter the city yet. So they just reuse the same thing of the snakes on the wall over and over and over, and it is bloody annoying. So yeah, the animation in this show is not good, especially by 2025 standards. I can't even call it Saturday morning levels of just mid, I want to say it's borderline bad. It's very choppy, very messy, and very, very stiff. I don't get why it's so hard to get it right, honestly. So yeah, outside the facial expressions, outside of episode 9's fight scenes and the climb up the mountain, everything else is very much a miss with the animation. And the pacing isn't much better as well. This show has some god-awful pacing. It's so bad, I straight up gave up watching the show halfway through. I watched like the first 4 episodes, and I was like, damn bro, I cannot keep up with this. It is so messy. But then I forced myself to finish it because, as I said, I want to be authentic. I want to give this show a fair shot, and I want to see more shows like this in the future. And I can't do that if I don't watch the show. So I went back and I finished it. And yeah, the pacing is very much messy. It very much feels like other cartoons I've seen where the first half of the season has its own problems, and those problems are very much the growing pains problems, right? And this is why I don't like pilots. I very much hate pilots in early parts of first seasons. I know a lot of people say, oh, the first season of the show is usually the best one. I'm not a fan of that, mostly because especially when it comes to cartoons, the first couple episodes are always going to be the most rough because you have to introduce the world, you have to introduce the characters, their journeys, make them relatable to the audience, introduce the lore of the show. Basically, you need to introduce the premise of the show because, like, what's the point of the show if the audiences can't get into the premise? So you have to introduce that to the audience, slowly spoon feed it to them bit by bit. It's a lot of work. So I understand. Starting a show and a pilot is a lot of work, and I feel the writers here. I fully understand their struggle, but my God, those first 4 episodes were hard to deal with. And then the pacing gets a bit better because we do get a mid-season event. There's a big event that happens in the middle of the season, and we continue the story from there. And so it's like the main plot. That's interesting. We are engaged with the main plot. But then we have the B plot or the C plot, whatever you want to call it, with the main village. And that's the difference. I'll talk about this when I get to the characters. But like we have like the B/C plot in the village, and it is really slow. I think from episodes 5 to 8, not much happens in the village. As said, we're repeating, the animation cycles of the snakes. We're repeating the same thing over and over. Oh, the Workers district is abused. Oh, the Workers district has ABCD problems. Oh, the Workers district this and that and that. And it's like, okay, move it along here. And only in episode 8 or 9 does something finally happen, and the snakes finally break in. I guess they just wanted to sit on the wall to enjoy life, I guess. So it was very annoying. That plot kind of annoyed me because it took forever to get to the point. Meanwhile, with the A plot, things were actually happening. There was a sequence of events that we followed, and I enjoyed the sequence of events. But now this takes me to the characters. I did not care for many of the characters in this show. Outside the 3 main characters, the kid characters, the show is kind of blah, Like, you of course have Iyanu, who I appreciate that the first season tries to give her a character. It does feel a bit inconsistent in places because, her whole thing is that she doesn't want to be the chosen one. But then she accepts her role as the chosen, and then she's very angry, or I guess afraid of, her power in a sense. But we don't really see that because in other instances, she'll doubt herself. So it's like, girl, which is it? Are you afraid of your power, or are you doubting that you can be strong enough? You pick a struggle here, queen. But I do like that she feels like a fleshed out character. And more importantly, she feels like a kid. I can't remember if I saw it somewhere, but I think she's 14 in the show. She feels like a 14-year-old. She gets giddy over the silliest things. She gets angry over the silliest things. She very much feels like a teenager. And her friends share that same sentiment. It's like, how are y'all surviving together? How did y'all make it this far? Darwinism hasn't done its thing yet and gotten rid of all of you. But that's the beauty of it. There is a charm to these guys being kids. And that's why I enjoy their characters a lot. Because we get to see their characters shine through on top of them needing to follow the plot. So I like Iyanu's chemistry with the other 2 characters, B and what's his face? I swear I forgot his name. But the reading kid, B and the reading kid. And I like how the 2 of them interact with each other. Those 3 episodes where they were on their own were really enjoyable. I really enjoyed following these characters. So the main characters, cool. The show got me to care about them. Nice. What about the rest of the characters? I do not care. I do not like reading kid's dad. I guess I like that he became a good guy. He slowly changed over the course of the season, but he has this dumb rivalry with another general from another tribe, and it feels so artificial at first. It's like, now we just need a character for him to fight in the penultimate episode, so sure, why the hell not? I did not care for the villain Chancellor. I liked the actual god manipulating stuff. I like the actual god manipulating stuff in the background, the evil god, but I did not like the Chancellor. He just was there. And, they obviously had to give him a traumatic backstory, and oh, boo-hoo us. It's like, and that's the thing, his backstory was so vague as to what he was actually doing. Oh yeah, that's Attack on Titan, because him and his sister had to infiltrate the city when they were kids. You're not slick, show. I've watched stuff as well, okay? I watched stuff too, So it's like, oh yeah, they had to go hide in the city because they were kids, and they had to go build their way up from there, and so on and so forth. I do like this chick, the one holding the purple stone. I'm forgetting his name. Why am I forgetting the name of literally everyone in this show? But I do like her as well as a character. I like how that she's taking care of Iyanu, and she's kind of like the surrogate mother, and she and she doesn't tell Iyanu who she is, but the 2 of them don't communicate. Kind of reminds me a lot of Hiccup and Stoic from How to Train Your Dragon, where it's like these 2 really do love each other, but they cannot communicate for the life of it. And I really do think, and they don't even end the season on communicating well, and I really do like that. It opens the door for more character growth in the future. They don't just wrap everything up and have a nice bow in it. There's more to their relationship, and I like that. It does feel like it has a bit of depth. Mama Shewa, on the other hand, feels like your generic mentor who just has to die because the story dictated it. I legit do not give 2 craps about her because she is so paper thin as a character archetype. And look, here's the thing. I don't hate cliches or character archetypes, but if you're not gonna do more with it, right, to at least make the story feel a bit spicy, like how they did with again Iyanu's adopted mother, what are we doing here, So the characters, I did not feel for the characters. There's also this fake king, because I know B is the son of the real king, and he's the cousin of a fake king. The fake king is supposed to be we're supposed to have a reveal near the end of the season that, oh, he's a horrible person. It's like, dog, you don't really have much of a personality, he was just kind of there, he barely showed up in the what do you call it, in the council meetings, and when he was there, he didn't say anything. He'd just have a look or two here. He'd have a look or two here and there. It was just like, huh? what's going on? I don't understand. And yeah, I didn't really care about him. So all in all, I didn't really care about the characters in this show, both the heroes and the villains. I only cared about the main trio and the adopted mother. I feel like there was at least a bit of depth to those characters, mostly because we got to spend time with them and got to see more of them. Whereas everyone else just felt like they were there to push the story along. A story, mind you, that we've seen many a times before. I do like that they actually got to beat the evil god at the end of the first season. It felt, I was a bit put off by it because I'm like, isn't he supposed to be like the big bad villain, like the one we beat at the very end? Feels weird that you're taking him out this early, but they do clarify that it's only a temporary win. And I said, because he's gone, now it opens more of and the animals have gone back to normal. It opens more of the world. It opens the door for us to see other now tribes, other villains, and deal with the story in a different way. So I do like that they are like, hey, we want to explore more of this world. We just need to get rid of this one thing that we'll bring back in the future. It's not the end of the show. I'm pretty sure season 2 has already been confirmed. So I like that they're willing to try different things right out the gate. So I like that. Anything else? I guess the theme song is catchy. It's a pretty good theme song. But that's about it. Yeah, that's about it. So at the end of the day, I don't really have too many good things to say about Iyanu. The dialogue and writing is pretty bad. The characters are all forgettable except like the main four. The what do you call it? The mythology is really good. I like the mythology. I like the ideas it poses. But it needs a stronger ship. It needs a stronger story to carry all of this. The character work has been done. I feel like this season at least did its job of building the characters up. Now you just need to make us care for them in future installments, and then we'll get somewhere. I like that they even got the training arc out of the way. It was a bit too quick for me. Like the training arc was very fast, but I do like that they show that Iyanu isn't a Mary Sue. She isn't a perfect character, and so she needs to spend all the season realizing her power, and then we get to the end of the season with that. So now that we're in a bit more of a realized place, I'm interested to see where we're going next. And I guess that leads me to give you my final thoughts of the show, because why not? I've kind of rambled on here long enough, and I think I've given all my points out. So, at the end of the day, what do I think of Iyanu? I think Iyanu is a show that has a lot of potential. It has a lot of untapped potential that I would love to see get explored and expanded on in later seasons. The animation, though, but it does have a lot of problems holding it back, and it needs to overcome these problems in order to do it well. I don't think these problems will be overcome in season 2. I don't hold my breath on it. But if they want to keep the show long running, maybe like season 3, 4, I would like to see some improvements. First of all, be the animation. We need some good animation up in here. We are in the 2020s. I feel like it's not too much to say that Cartoon Network shouldn't feel like it's actually on an African budget. Show me that American dollars doing its work. So I would like to see better animation, a bit more movement. The colors are already there, so we just need to get a bit more movement, a bit more swiftness, and a bit of better timing, in my opinion. Dialogue also needs to improve, writing needs to improve. I feel like now we've gotten the hard stuff out of the way. We've established the world and the characters. Now we just need to jump into making, those stuff stronger, making it better. And as for the mythology, bring more crazy Nigerian stuff in this, dog. Like, don't just leave it at gods. Give us actual interesting creatures for these characters to fight. The most we see, as said in this series, is a giant laser shooting leopard and a lightning bird. I would like to see more actual Nigerian folkloric creatures. I don't think the show is bad, but it really could be so much better. So at the end of the day, I am giving Iyanu a 4 out of 10, but it's the best 4 out of 10 I can give out of the goodness of my heart. I just really hope the show actually does try and improve. I really do hope that also Cartoon Network gives them a bigger budget. But I've also been in this situation before with Star Wars Resistance. That first season sucked, but I was so hoped for it, and I hope the rest of the show get better, but it didn't. I am hoping, at the very least, for the sake of African mythology and African media, that they just try to make this thing a bigger hit. That's all I'm asking for. But yeah. Anyways, guys, that's going to be all from me today. I'm just going to be repeating points here if I keep talking, so I'm just going to end it right here, right now. Thank you so very much for watching, guys. Be sure to like if you like, subscribe if you're already, hit the notification button to be part of the team, slap a cow, and with that, I will see you in the universe. Goodbye, my Rangers, and tell me what you thought of Iyanu down in the description if you have watched it, and let's have a discussion. If you haven't watched it, tell me, was this review convincing or not? I'd very much like to know, because this video also isn't scripted, so it's very much just top of my head thoughts. But we'll get back to the proper high quality videos in the future. Anyways, guys, I'll see you in another universe. Goodbye.